Hi everyone, I'm joined here by Roberto Castiglioni, who is an accessible air travel evangelist and also the founder of Reduced Mobility Rights Ltd. So Roberto, thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
First question for you is why is it so important for airports to ensure that they have a 100% that they are 100% accessible and cater to the broadest kind of possible customer base?
Because it's good business. It's good business when you get people, give everybody the opportunity to travel, you will just acquire market shares. It is as simple as that. And I can give you an example. EasyJet made a case study on this, and I remember the statistics from 2017-2018. They had carried well over 500,000 people with disabilities, and as it turned out, each person was traveling with 3.8 other people. I don't know what the 0.8 is, but anyways, and the loyalization of that segment was 95%. So you acquire 2 million people, 2 million customers that will stay with you, either if your airport is further afield than another one, or your airline has slightly higher fares than another one, because they're loyal. They are confident that you will treat them well. If that's not good business, I don't know what it is.
And do you think the pandemic has made airports more acutely aware of this?
Well, the pandemic has been an unprecedented event. Nobody in our generation has experienced anything like this before, and hopefully we're not going to experience anything like this for the next 60 years or 70 years. The point being is that it's not about the pandemic, it's the aftermath of the pandemic. I remember forecasting models of 2021 were pointing to a rebound by 2024, and here we are in 2022 with everybody struggling, airlines and airports, because the rebound is now. So I don't think airports or airlines have time to think right now. They are just trying to make planes fly and airports work. Maybe the time to think will be later. Absolutely.
And what airports do you think are leading the way in terms of their accessibility?
I wouldn't want to pick one over the other. You know, a lot of airports have put a lot of effort and resources in making their premises more accessible. Others are in the process of doing so. I think it would be unfair to the ones that haven't already rolled out their new things to reward others. I think that within the airport industry, there is a very clear trend towards accessibility, and this is just fantastic. And hopefully it's going to just continue to thrive in the years to come.
Thank you very much. And what work are you doing with the Civil Aviation Authority at the moment to further this cause? Can we expect any new kind of regulations coming out in the near future?
Well, as you know, I'm a member of the panel, the accessibility panel of the CAA, and their official thorn in the neck for the past 11 years. And for the past 11 years, and I know this might not make me popular with airports, I have been asking for enforcement powers. Right now the CAA has some enforcement powers, but they're very complex and they're not fit for purpose. I think there would be much more clarity in the industry if, for instance, the CAA could have the power to issue fines. I mean, we have the CAA in India that within a month managed to conduct a case, conduct an investigation, and fine an airline that denied boarding to a young adult with an array of conditions. But here we are with some operators that have not been too keen in following the letter of the law, and they're still kind of getting away with it. And you know, I don't believe that fines should be used across the board every time something goes wrong. But they should be there because it's a reminder that it is the letter of the law, first and foremost. And so I hope the Secretary for Transport puts this at the top of his agenda. I know there is a consultation ongoing and talking about new things. There is a consultation about the framework and also the enforcement powers, and hopefully this will be expedited because it's time to have the enforcement powers that the CIA deserves and needs.
And do you think that there are any quick wins that airports can kind of implement to make themselves more accessible with minimal investment?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, we could talk for half a day, but I can tell you that there are so many little touches that airports can put in place that are basically cost neutral. Not even expensive, cost neutral, but would make a huge difference for the traveling public and for the segment that I like to call it customer care for everybody, you know, customer service for everybody. And of course, some people will need an additional layer of care. You know, we have to move past this concept of disability. We have to get into, because, you know, disability is part of the human landscape. We are all the same. We're all built the same. We all function the same way. So, I mean, I think it's time to remove this segregation of people that are born or have acquired a condition during their lifetime to be seen as something different. We are all the same.
And I think I read something that said any one of us can expect to live at least 8 years with a disability.
Well, according to my wife, I have selective dementia. So yeah, and I've lived more than 8 years with that disability, 20 for that matter.
And what technology is paving the way to create a more accessible airport landscape for people?
I hate to sound like a broken tape recorder, but the foundation of making an airport more accessible is the PRM management and therefore the IT, the underlying IT. A lot of the problems you see today with delays is because IT is not used to the fullest extent, and therefore members of staff are not managed the way they could be and should be. So that is the bedrock. You know, once you get that right, you can build on that, and then there's a whole sorts of technologies that can come into play. But that is the core. You get that right, everything is going to be smoother, and especially in times like this where recruiting is difficult and there are delays also with the background checks, and therefore, you know, you may recruit the right person, but it will take 3 months to get them to the front line. It's important, it's fundamental, it's vital. It's vital for yesterday I was on a flight that was delayed of 2 hours, and the first hour was because assistance services were late to come and take 2 passengers who required assistance getting off the plane. And then the headset of the captain broke down, so they had to replace that. Then we missed a few slots. But if you put everything, all that together, you see the cost of not doing things right for an airline and for an airport. So it is important to get it right, and IT, how the airport manages its members of staff and special assistants is fundamental.
Roberto, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.